Hello, everyone. My name is KJ, and I'm the host of Great Talking Entertainment official channel. And today's video is my non-spoiler review for the new movie Scream 7, which is in theaters right now. So, if you have not seen this film yet, let me be the one to convince you to check out Scream 7 in theaters. So you heard the trending, you see the negative comments, you see the positive comments, you hear everybody talking about it, but you're not sure. Well, let me be the one to convince you to check this out. So before I start, could you guys do one thing for me? Could you hit the likes button, aka the thumbs up button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I thank you guys in advance for doing that. So, again, I'm not going to talk about the main story and the main plot of this movie, but I'm just going to do my review about how I feel about it, why you should check this out, why you should give it a chance, and why I think Scream 7 is actually a really good movie, and I think it's worth watching. So, and actually it's worth watching twice, and I'll explain why. So, here is my non spoiler review for Scream 7. So, Scream 7 is a horror film slash a slasher film that's bringing back all the classic scary stuff of a psycho killer, a stalker that made the first generations of fans who became a fan of this franchise for them, but also is catering to the new generation, the new fans that is definitely going to enjoy Scream 7 and the older Scream movies. And I think they'll definitely add this, and you definitely too. Everybody from all ages should add this film into your Halloween or just your month of October scary movie playlist for that month, because this is a scary movie that really lived up to a high expectation, in my opinion. And this film had its ups and downs, but I think this is a slasher film. Yes, it is horror and it's scary. It's supposed to spook you out, and that's the whole point. Like it's not like a action pack. It's not supposed to make sense. You're looking this through the view of somebody who has revenge on somebody. It's just one of those films, and the reasoning is always silly, always doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to the killer, right? So, it to me, this film did what it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to do. And honestly, like, you know, you're supposed to watch this with your friends, your family, your loved ones anyway. So I definitely think this is a film you should definitely check out. Now let me talk about the things I did not like about this film, and there's only three things. The first one I did not like about it was there was some dialogue, and I have to be honest, there was some dialogue that was very cringe. Like, it's not like, oh my, well, it's not like an OMG, I can't believe they said that. I'm just like, ugh, I can't believe they said that. Like, who would say that in a situation like that? Or why would they say something like that? And, again, it just a lot of these characters are teenagers, so they're just saying teenage stuff. So I can see why somebody who's not a teenager would think this is cringe dialogue, but it was at times, but not a lot. It's really not a lot, but there was 3 times throughout the whole movie, just in my opinion, 3 times that there was dialogue that you could not deny that was very cringeworthy. Like, who wrote that? Why did they say their lines like that? And what were they thinking? But not a big deal. But it's just there was just 3 times throughout the whole movie where it was some cringe going on with the dialogue. Nothing bad, just I just gotta put it out there, like, it's kinda 'cause when what they said and how they said it kinda, like, kills, like takes you out of the out of the movie a little bit where, for people who are feeling intense, because this film was very intense. It was very scary, like, it had all that, but this dialogue sometimes, the 3 that I noticed was very cringeworthy, and it kinda took you out of it, and then you had to kinda get yourself back into the film in a way, but those are not big deals. I think, like, once you watch it the second time, you can kinda just ignore it or just tolerate it or accept it, but it was just 3 times that I know. Now the second thing I didn't like about this, there was forgettable characters. And what I mean by that, there are some characters that they act like they're gonna be really important to the movie, and then you forgot about them. And it was just like, why are they there? There's no clues, there was no hints, there was no teases to them, to a Scream 8 or a spinoff, nothing like that. But there is just some forgettable characters, but I do have to say the main characters of this film, they did really well with. Like, they really focus on them, and they definitely made sure they had their spotlight to explain who they are and understand where these characters are coming from. Especially the returning actors and actresses from the Scream franchise film. So it definitely has that. So though and that was more important. So that's why I understand why there are forgettable characters, because they wanted to make sure the returning characters that they shown throughout the Scream 7 trailers were the main focus points, which that's fine, it makes sense. Now the last thing is there was some confusing scenes. It was just kind of confusing, and they just it didn't make sense, but and I question why they even put that in the film. Now, let's talk about the things I did like about it. Number one important thing is the main killer, Ghostface. I like Ghostface in Scream 7 better than they did in Scream 6, just for the fact that they had the character Ghostface do the things that you watch Ghostface do in Scream 1, the first Scream film. And that's where that character did its greatest hits of what you would imagine Ghostface would do to their victims. And it made sense, that felt like Ghostface. Like, Ghostface did things that would only that character would do. It didn't like go out of pocket, you know. And with a character like that, you can go any way with it, but this is a character throughout the whole Scream franchise has its signature moves or signature, evilness to it that it would do to their victims, right? And this one, they really, really, really brought out again the greatest hits of that character, in my opinion. And I think it really helped carry this film out, or this movie, honestly, too, because Ghostface is one of the main characters, but he's the main villain. And again, Ghostface is a mysterious person. You never know who's underneath the mask. You never know their their whys. They explain their whys a lot, but it's a why like it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to that person who's wearing the scream mask basically. And I they really nailed that correctly with this character because when you did see that character Ghostface, it gave you that Ghostface feel, and Ghostface did what Ghostface would do. So, really excellent job with that character. And obviously it's the it's the face of this franchise too. So, they had to do that character correctly and I think they did. Number 2 that I do like about this film is the plot twists. The plot twists were awesome, they were shocking, and a little bit of scariness to it because and it totally makes sense where they're going with it because again, this is supposed to be scary and it has that slasher, you know, everybody's a victim. Anybody's left alone at night is in trouble. And if you're connected or related to somebody, you're gonna get it. Like, and so it totally makes sense to me with those plot twists. Which it leads me to the last thing, my number 3 that I definitely liked about this film was the ending. The ending makes sense. Now, the ending wasn't like the best ending, but it was a really good ending that totally makes sense for this franchise because again, it makes sense. Like, who does this character gravitate to? Who would be who would like visualize this character, Ghostface? That's what makes sense about it. And the ending was really good on that point. And it leaves a mysterious ending. Like you don't know. You really don't know, right? And they kind of left the door open for a Scream 8, which I would imagine they want to do a Scream 8 because again, this was a really good film. You know, it's not as good as the first one. It's never going to be as good as the first Scream movie. But this of so far this is the good a good horror slash a slasher film of 2026. So, if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm going to give this a 6. This is a really good movie. And it again, it had its there was some cringe with the dialogue, but the character Ghostface carried the movie itself on its shoulders. And I think to me it's worth watching twice. Like definitely at least watch it in the month of October and watching it in theaters now, which is available to give it a chance because I think you want to watch this again and I think you'll enjoy it for what it is. It's supposed to get you scared. It is supposed to spook you out and I think it's worth it. I think it's worth going to the movie theater. You'll have a good time. It was fun just watching it. It was fun, seriously. Like, you know, you didn't know, it's if you're in a movie theater, it gets dark in there and you know, the music, the intense scary music in the movie gets you. Oh, it will mess with you and the jump scares were on point, honestly. There was a few where you can it was kind of obvious, but what other slasher slash horror film does not have an issue like that where you don't see it coming or you do see that pop scare actually coming? So you're gonna have that, but I'm telling you guys, it is worth watching this. And the cast, the actors and the actresses, they did an amazing job. especially the OGs and stuff. And I think it's worth it. So please check that out. If you did see it because of my non-spoiler review, let me know in the comments below. But that is my non-spoiler review. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you'll always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.